I want to welcome everybody. It is to Education Night. It's February the 23rd, 2023. And I want to welcome, we have several guests here tonight. We've got, let's see, where'd they go? Where'd they go? We lost them. Oh, we got Jadine. Go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and so we know what, who you are and what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Jadine and I live in Clearwater. And I just finished a 6 weeks class with Robert, which was delightful. And I learned more than my brain can handle. Managed to mess up my camera that's like 19 months old and hardly used. But Robert got it fixed for me tonight. So I'm gonna go out and try a night shot later. Awesome. I just love photography, and the reason that I took the class with Robert is I have this bucket list to get a good moon shot. I can't do it. I can't do it with and people do it, but I can't do it. So I took this class with Robert so I can figure out what f-stop and app and ISO I need for a good moon shot. So
what do you normally shoot? I mean, what kind of photography do you do?
Oh, my favorite are, I love to do close-up of plants, like flowers and stuff. Yeah. I take pictures of my grandkids and my son with Down syndrome and my dog and sunsets. I love sunrises and sunsets. Sunrises, sunsets, and flowers are probably my favorite stuff.
Well, we have people that do that in this group. So yeah, this is a very diverse group. We do a lot of different things. So welcome and glad. Hope you learned something tonight. Hopefully we won't overwhelm your brain even more.
I don't know. It's pretty baked for today. So we'll see.
Mike, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what kind of photography you do.
Well, my name is Mike Fernandez. I live here in Tarpon Springs. And I just recently heard about you, and I asked for an invitation to join you guys tonight. I am the president of the Tarpon Springs Camera Club. And when it comes to photography, I just love photography. Anything that gets in front of the lens is a nice subject. I just love photography.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for visiting us tonight. Dave, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know a little bit about yourself.
I thought Dave was actually a member already.
Yeah, I was. I think I talked last time, or
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
You're off the hook then.
Thanks.
Okay. Got a few things I want to. First off, I'm gonna do a little entertainment to start off with. I'm going to share my screen, and those of you that didn't make it to our kind of impromptu, we had like a 4-day notice of going on this little outing that we did at the state fair. You missed. It was a great evening. There was hardly anybody there. It was awesome. So I've got a quick, about a less than 2-minute video. I'm going to show you of that little adventure. Here. Get this out of the way. Oops. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see how this works.
Okay. If there's sound, we're not hearing anything.
All right. Was a quickie.
Was nice stuff in there.
Yeah, we had a lot of good time. We had a good time, and it was, like I said, it was a perfect night because the weather was beautiful. Didn't even need a jacket, and there was hardly anybody there. So you didn't feel like you were getting in the way of putting your tripod down the middle of the sidewalk or anything. It was awesome. Pretty cool night. Anyway, hopefully y'all will come next year when we can do this. Okay, we got some.
Lynn, did that one have sound?
Yeah, it did.
Okay,
you
we
hear
couldn't
it?
hear the music because I know you normally have music with it. We
Yeah.
couldn't hear that.
Sorry about that. Let's I'm gonna put it on the website so you guys can listen to it there and hear the music. It's just music, whatever.
Well, I know you usually do music,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know why it didn't go through. That's kind of strange. Anyway, okay, let's do it. We got a lot of announcements to get through. So first things first is photo camp is next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Right now we have around 24 people signed up for either for both camping and for the Saturday day. If by any chance you are still interested in doing that, you need to go onto the website and sign up right away because we've got to have a head count probably by Lee Monday. Do you need to know by Monday? You're muted.
All right, just so we can get food for Saturday.
Yeah, we ideally
Right
would
now,
like
how
to have a full head count by Monday. So if you haven't signed up, please go in there and sign up so that we know how much food we need to buy for the lunch at Saturday. Also, if you are signed up already, in order to get into hopefully you read the email, but there's two separate parts to that park. There's the campground and then there's the park. And the lunch will be held at the campground, and that has a gate on it. So you have to have the gate code in order to get into the park, to the campgrounds. So if you haven't signed up, you're not going to get the code. But if you've signed up, we will email everybody probably on Wednesday or Thursday and give you Lee's telephone number so you can call him because he will not have the code until late Friday afternoon. So you'll need to call him, especially if you're camping, call him so you can get into the campground. And then on Saturday, you will need the code in order to get in the gate at the campground. So be sure to call him and he will give you the code as soon as he's got it on Friday afternoon. Any questions about the photo camp?
Hey, Lynn, yes,
Yeah.
Sylvia. If we, Susan and Jean and I may go Friday and stay in that motel nearby. Do you
Yeah.
need a head count for dinner Friday night at that restaurant, or do we just show up there?
No, you can just show up.
Show up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
And if you missed it, the information about the restaurant is on the website.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if we needed to let
Okay.
you know we were going. Okay.
Bougie,
If we're
bougie,
if we're
bougie.
just
I'm a
doing
glamper.
it as a day trip.
Actually, it'd be helpful to know just so we know how big of a table to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be three of us that we're signed up for Saturday, but we just decided we were gonna come up Friday night just so we'd be close for the next day.
Anybody else?
You do want us to sign up even if we're doing it as a day trip on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, because we need to know how much food to have for lunch on Saturday. So be sure to sign up even if you're just coming for Saturday.
Is it a
Okay.
problem getting in if you just come for Saturday? Like, is it crowded? No.
The later you go, the more crowded it will be.
Right.
It looks like it's going to be a nice weekend. So
Okay.
Yeah,
the spring
last
gets-
year it was kind of rainy, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, it really depends again on the weather, and it looks like it's going to be a nice weekend. But ideally, it's best to get there, around 8 o'clock so that you miss the crowds basically. And then lunch is going to be around noon, so keep that in mind as well.
Okay.
If we're not camping, do we still need a gate code?
Yes, because
If
you
you want
have
to come for lunch,
yeah. If you're going to come for
Okay.
lunch, you have to. The lunch is held at the campground, and that has a code on it. So. Yeah, we
Okay.
will email everybody Lee's telephone number the end of the towards the end of the week, and that way you can call him on Friday or Saturday whenever you're there whenever you want to get the code, because he won't know what it is until late Friday afternoon. All right.
Yeah,
Other
I was going to let you know,
announcements.
Lynn,
Yeah.
I won't be able to make it. My wife actually got her surgery and recovered well, and I was going to go, and then I got booked for a lucrative 2-day video assignment for that. So I'm going to take the money.
Okay, yeah, I would too. And unfortunately, I will not be there because I'm going to be in Moab. Hopefully, not stuck in the snow somewhere. So, anyway, okay, let's move on. The assignments coming up for the next 3 months for March is macro photography. Remember, that's 1-to-1 or closer, so you need to get really close with your camera because we don't want you to crop it. We want you to actually do a true macro shot. The specifics are on the website under the assignments list. April is long exposure landscape, and this is 1 second or longer. Again, the information is on the website. And then May is bird portrait. We're kind of giving you an easy peasy one there, but you got to find the bird and it's got to sit still so you can get its portrait. Okay. Education nights. We got a lot coming up. I have booked 3 speakers so far. I've got hopefully 2 more on the hook. We'll see what happens. But I just wanted to let you know, obviously we've got Jim and Robert working on doing us post-processing tonight. In March, they also will be doing environmental portraits, which is a assignment that's coming up. So hopefully this will be as good, if not better, than the last one they did for us on window light portraits. And then in April, I want you to mark your calendars, because in April, we will not have our normal Thursday night education night. It's going to be on Sunday afternoon. And the reason for that being is, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but if you have, Rick Sam is going to speak for us. He is called, a lot of people call him the godfather of photography. He has written over 40 books on photography. Some of us know him for his salmonisms, like Feel the Frame, and there's a lot of things he says that kind of suck into your head and are stuck there forever. So he's going to be talking about travel photography, which is one of our assignments later in the year. So it's going to be Sunday, April the 30th at 3 p.m. And we will record it and send it to all the members if you can't be there. But I would love to have as many of y'all there as possible, because Rick is he's a longtime friend of mine. He's also a friend of Jim's, and we want to support him as best we can with a good crowd. So
where are we going to meet?
We're not meeting. It's going to be on Zoom.
Oh, I knew
good.
that.
Yeah, it's a Zoom meeting. The Zoom meeting is going to be at 3 o'clock instead of Thursday at 7. So
Gotcha.
yeah, and I'll be putting more details on the website shortly, probably next month, because that is in April. In May, I'm going to share my screen again real quickly here. In May, let's see, we get rid of this and this. We've got this over here. We have got Joshua Cripps coming in. Joshua is one of the young photographers out there. I've met him and was in one of his classes at out of Death Valley last January. This is probably the most famous thing. He's known for this picture right here called the Ring of Fire. That took, I asked him about it when I was at his, when we were talking in Death Valley, and he said it took him hours, days and days and days to arrange this, and thousands of dollars to arrange it, and he wasn't even sure it was going to work. So, and he's also, if you've heard of photo pills, this was all based on his use of photo pills right here. Planning. But anyway, he is a really good photographer. He is going to talk to us about telephoto landscapes, which again is another assignment later I think it's in June or July. So he actually did a talk on this for Out of Chicago last year on their live that they did in 2022. So I figured he would be a good person to bring in for this particular assignment. Then we don't have anybody set up for June right yet. I'm hoping I contacted somebody today. Hope I'll have them confirm shortly. But in July, this one, Angie McMonigal is going to do architectural abstracts. She is a fine art photographer whose stuff has been shown and is purchased by big architectural firms all over the world. So she is, I actually hosted her session out of Chicago Live last month or earlier this month, and she and I got to talking, and she said she would be happy to do a talk for us. So I know she's going to be she's another young photographer. So I'm glad to get some of these youngsters in here as well. So any question on any of that? Oh, okay.
Yes, Lynn, I do. I was actually changing my date on the calendar. What time was that thing again on April 30th?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. All right,
Yep.
thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Lynn, just a little clarification on the macro. If we crop in camera, like a 1-to-1, if we use like a square crop in camera, that's okay?
Rob or Jim?
Not sure what you mean by a 1-to-1 crop in camera.
Well,
I mean,
if I do like a 1-to-1, so I mean, I wouldn't be cropping post, processing it, I would have it cropped in camera.
you shoot it with a macro lens?
Yeah.
Well, it will be a macro.
Okay.
Yeah, you got in there and fill the frame.
Yeah, you're saying you can set your camera to a 1-to-1 ratio while you take photos.
Yeah, I guess my concern was that if you guys saw a square, that you would think that I cropped it to enhance the the magnification. So I just wanted to make sure I did like a square format.
Remember what 1-to-1 is. It means that what you see on the picture is what you would see. It's
Lynn is talking 1-to-1 magnification,
Yeah,
and Jan is talking a 1-to-1 aspect ratio.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's two different things. So explain 1-to-1 aspect ratio, that's what this is about. Is the not
1-to-1 aspect ratio is a square.
The magnification, yeah.
Okay.
1-to-1 magnification means the object in the image is rendered on the sensor at or greater than its actual size.
Yeah, I got that. I guess what I was asking was if I presented a square image, I wouldn't want it to be thought that it wasn't, that it was.
Jan.
Yeah.
Jan.
Yes.
We're not that square.
I understand her concern because we made such a big deal about the people who just took a picture and then blew it up to make it 1-to-1.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Leslie.
Yeah, but I don't think you have to worry about what you're saying versus what was being critiqued before.
Okay, Leslie, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah, and don't strip your EXIF data when you send your image. Leave it intact.
Everybody should actually make sure that all their data about their camera comes through. We get probably a third, maybe not that many, maybe a quarter that don't have it. And when you're exporting through Lightroom, if you create the export preset, you can actually tell it to leave all that EXIF data in. So we want to see that because we want to see what ISO.
Especially on this one, we want to see that.
Yeah, we want to see. We want to see this information, and if you strip it out, it makes it kind of hard for us to see it, obviously. So,
I'm sorry. I have a question. I have a macro lens, and I guess most everybody does. But if anyone does not have a macro lens, can you achieve the life-size image on the sensor with extension tubes?
Yes.
Something like. Okay, so that would be my suggestion. If there's anybody that maybe doesn't have a macro lens.
And extension tubes are cheap.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? Okay. Our next outing where we get to be together in person is April the 1st. And that's our one-day Tampa Bay Camera Club, where you have 24 hours from midnight to midnight to shoot where you are, okay? We want to see images of where you're at on that date, on April the 1st, okay, which I think it's a Saturday. In Tampa, if you're in Tampa, we will be getting together at 4:30 at Tampa Riverwalk to just have, have an outing and, spend some time together and also shoot in downtown Tampa. We will put, we haven't set up a specific meetup place yet, probably Julian B. whatever park. I never can remember the name of that place. And we'll figure out what we're going to do, but I will get those details to you on the website a little later on in the year. So just mark your calendar for April the 1st. So wherever you are, you can go out and shoot on that day. And what we're going to do is gather images from everybody and put together, a nice slideshow that will have music you can hear. And so, kind of showcase where everybody is. It doesn't even have to be, if you're traveling, it could be that wherever you are on that day. So we want to see what everybody's doing on April the 1st of 2023. So it should be fun. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and just FYI, these are on your own kind of things. Tall Ships St. Pete will be in St. Petersburg on March the 30th through the April the 2nd. And as everything happens in Florida, all on the same weekends, there's at least 5 things good to go to every freaking weekend in the spring. Sun and Fun Fly-In in Lakeland is also that same weekend. If you Google Tall Ships St. Pete or Sun and Fun Fly-In, they both have big websites, and you can go in there and see what the events are. You need tickets for everything for both of them, but just wanted to let you know that there's 2 good events coming up for good photography. Okay, that's everything that I have. Robert, do you have anything you need to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, Jim?
Good.
Anybody else? Jack or Lee, anybody? We're all good?
For photo camp, if anybody wants to go kayaking, we can go kayaking in the afternoon on Saturday. You can rent kayaks at in the campground.
Okay. Or you can bring your own kayak or canoe if you have one.
Or you can bring your own.
Yeah.
And launch right there at the campground.
Yeah, there's a launch spot right pretty close to the campground. So anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah. Before we get going, I need to take some medicine. Hold on.
Okay, I gotta make you guys co-hosts anyway.
I'm looking at that outline, Lynn. Are the things with the little scratchy pencil asterisks?
Yes. Yeah, those are the ones. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
All right. You guys are both co-hosts now.
While we're waiting, Jim, I had some Irish cream whiskey I was going to share with you on the camp trip.
I wasn't sure I was going to go, and then I was sure I was going to go, and then I got a really good job, and so I'm sure.
Hey, I understand. I do understand, but
and that just happened yesterday. That I was gonna check with Lee and see if there was still any tent spots available, and then that job came through.
There's still 2 spots left.
FYI.
Yeah, that's what last time I asked you, and I was going to see if they were still available, and then I got that job yesterday. So that's going to that job's going to kill that weekend.
Well, I hate to drink without you, but hey, okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
You're not sharing with any of your other campers, huh?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But that's one of the things that we kind of do all the time is maybe try a little something different. Somebody gave me this for my birthday, so it's an
I'll have a
adult
drink that
milkshake.
weekend, and I'll think about you, Leslie.
All right, Robert and Jim, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the first question, and I if I understand it correctly, I do know the answer to that question. How to blend in areas and still keep the textures, the best brushes to use. So I guess somebody's having a problem with using brushes, blending in areas and it obliterating the texture, which that's going to happen if you use a soft edge brush. The edges of the brush are going to feather in, and you're going to kind of get a mush of your two areas on the feathered edge, which is going to keep the texture. I don't know the specifics of what somebody's trying to do that asked this question, but the harder edge you put on the brush, the more texture the brush is going to retain out to the edge without smearing on the feathered edges of the brush, if that makes sense.
Well, is the person who generated that question here?
I have no idea. I did not put anybody's name on these questions when I did this last year, so.
Well, I mean, I only asked that because it would help to know what they were intending.
Yeah.
Some of these questions without the context behind them are pretty wide open.
And that's the big thing. I was trying to look for something that would simulate what Jim was referring to, but I'm not getting anything there. It does not mean that tonight we can't have questions that are open-ended tonight from anybody out there.
Yeah.
So just as someone sent in a certain set of deals.
Let's get through these 5, and then we can leave it, open it up to everything, and anybody if you want to.
But it's always great to know.
I'll open up something and make something to use as an example if you want to move on to the other thing while I work on while I pop something up here.
What's the second one?
Some software launched.
The overview of using various groups of tools in Photoshop, the different selection tools.
Okay. Let's see. Let's give let me get into something. Is there any way I can share my screen?
Yeah, you should be set up to share.
Okay. All right, let's see if we can get something on the screen here. Give me 1 second. How did I get to this screen? Oh no. You guys can't see my screen, and I'm talking out loud about something I'm trying to open here, and it's showing me something other than what I want. So that is not where I want to go. So we did not do a dry run before we did this.
I found out 5 minutes before the meeting I was doing this.
Yeah.
Because of getting no emails and expired texts and nothing to find on the website to tell me I was doing this.
Right.
That was because you guys never told me exactly what you were going to do, so I couldn't put anything on the website.
I told you exactly what I was going to do, which was I did not know what I was going to do.
This is not the normal way, guys. We're usually more organized than this.
It really isn't the normal way.
These two had a very busy week, so
yeah. So let me just get something up here and other. Okay. Adobe Photoshop. That's it. Okay. All right. Let's see, sharing screen. Let me get to that part. And share screen. And desktop 1. And I'm assuming you're seeing the great me.
Yep. You advertising for Coke now?
No, that was way back when.
I have a quick question because it's on my screen again, but I know how to fix it. But with the last update of Photoshop, I've been getting this error message sending things from Lightroom, but I know how to fix it. I was just curious, has anybody else been getting the error message when sending something from Lightroom to Photoshop that says could not open file name such and such because there isn't enough room to dock it on this monitor? That's a bug that came in on the last Photoshop. I was just wondering, it It happens if you're using multiple monitors. Is anybody else having that issue? Because I can tell you how to fix it. If not, don't worry about it.
I have not, and I use multiple monitors.
Okay.
I'll probably run into it the next time I try to edit some photos because I use multiple monitors.
Yeah, I discovered how to fix it, but it came in on the last version of Photoshop, and it's kind of annoying.
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, now I once again I wish I knew who wanted to know this question, because I would want to know specifically what it is that they're looking for. As far as selection tools, but there are a number of selection tools. You have your rectangular marquee, and by long clicking on the tool itself, you will get these other tools that are nested inside the, obviously the rectangular tool to make a selection. And by the way, anytime you have a selection, then you're telling Photoshop that I want to affect that particular area. And if I draw out a selection, doesn't matter the type of selection, when I click inside of the selection, I can now move that selection around. If I click anywhere outside of the selection goes away. Once again, if I click inside, I can move it around. If I decide that, wait a minute, that's not the shape I wanted, I wanted something bigger, I do not have to reshape. I can go back up to go up top to the select menu, and under the select menu, I can do this thing called transform selection. Once I transform the selection, I'll get a set of handles that will allow me to make any kind of correction that I might have wanted to make that I from the selection in the first place. If I hold down the Command or Control key, you'll look in the corner at my cursor, it will turn into a white cursor, and I can now change the shape of that selection. Other than just making it into a square, I can reshape it any way I want simply by holding down the Command or Control key. And once I do that and accept the selection, I hit Enter and a Return, and that's kind of how it goes. And once again, inside of the selection, there you go. I made my selection, and now if I do anything to that selection, let's just say that we are going to change the brightness of it. The moment I do that, there it is. That's how it goes. If I back out of that, edit, undo, modify, edit, undo layers, and now I still have my selection. I can inverse that selection by using the select menu again and inversing it. And now when I do something to it, I'm gonna again add a, I'm now gonna add a levels. And once again, because I've inversed it, everything happens to the outside. And now I know that's just a kind of overview of what happens with the selections. Let me get rid of the layer mask, put that in the trash can, and go back to the part about the many types of selections, elliptical, and same thing. All the selections are potentials for Photoshop to do something. You're telling Photoshop to specifically do something. If I make a circle, for instance, and I want to move that circle, I can hold down the space bar. Actually, no, I can't. I can move the circle by moving inside of it, like so. If I wanted to make a circle that was completely, in a sense, unlike this shape, but I need it to be perfectly round, I'll hold down the Shift key. And with the Shift key, I can make that circle completely, what is it called when it's not weirdly shaped?
Constrained proportions?
Yeah, constrained proportion. Yeah. Now, when I'm making that circle big and or small, I'm holding down the shift key. However, I can't move it. I wanted to move over to the top of my head, but while holding down the shift key and I hold down the space bar at the same time, I can now move it and then continue to do my shape. So now, just to recap, once I get a shape wherever it is I want, I can always move it. And if I need to reshape it, select transform, just like we did before. If I want to intersect with that or grow that selection, I hold down the shift key and add another circle. If I want to subtract from it, I'll hold down the option key or alt key and subtract from it. So I see oftentimes when people are making a selection, I'm going to click outside. They'll make a selection around something. For instance, they'll go around like so, and then, oh, I messed up. And they'll click and say, I'm going to start all over, or Command Z. So you make a selection around outside, and that's the selection, but you miss this portion. Shift key, there it is. Add to it. Take away from it, Alt option key. There it is. You can also make a selection by using your quick selection tool. And the quick selection tool is like a brush. Right bracket key, you can make it bigger. Left bracket key, you can make it smaller. It's going based on whatever value is underneath that crosshair in the middle of the circle to determine what it will select.
The size of that circle also determines, how broad of a range it will interpret beyond what's under the crosshair.
Now, I want you to watch what happened when I went outside of this. Now, when you go outside, if I hold on the Alt or Option key and I paint outside, it pushes it back in. Now, one of the little secrets behind, if you use this wonderful brush, the quick selection brush, is that if I don't want it to go outside of the line as I'm painting, what I'll do is I'll hold down the Alt or Option key, paint around the areas to tell it where I don't want it to go. I'm painting right now, hold down the Alt or Option key, painting all through this to let it know that I don't want that. Now, when I come back with my paintbrush, I come down, it knows pretty much not to go outside of that because I've already told it I don't want it to go outside. So you see how that works? Kind of nifty. Another thing, as far as selection is concerned, one of the things that people say, well, I'm not really steady with my hands in that manner. I'm gonna get out of this tool. Is you can make a selection using a brush. See, I'm really, really good with the brush. So what I'll do with the brush is make my brush a little bit bigger. I'm using that for the sake of not using shortcut keys. I'm going to use the right bracket key with shortcut key, of course. And I am going to go into the quick mask, click on quick mask, and then paint the area that I want, like so. And shortcut keys that I just mentioned is to use the letter Q, and I have a selection there. So that's those are some of the main tools that you be using as far as making a selection. I'll Command deselect. As far as there's a magic wand tool down here. I don't use that often, but there's an object select tool. And in object select tool, you simply draw around. Well, wait a minute, hold on. I did that wrong. I couldn't find an object. Yeah, sure. Let's see if I can do it this way. Draw around that tool. and it should kind of snap to it. There you go. Well, it snapped to me too. It's calling me an object. All right, I'll try this one. Oh, by the way, the way Photoshop works now these days is that with the object selection tool, if you hover over something and just click on it, it should. There you go.
If you can identify something, it hovers over, it'll automatically highlight it for you.
Working.
Yeah, and so in this case, the Coke and I we're one, so there's not enough contrast and difference between us, and not enough spacing between us that it'll identify. But this tool is quite nice. I like this particular tool for identifying objects. Let me click anywhere outside of that with a different tool to get rid of it. Oh, another tool that's underused is select via color range. In other words, in this particular case, I'll bring the fuzziness back to 0, and I'll say, okay, do I want to sample a color? Yeah, let's sample a color. And that color is going to be, and there's an eyedropper tool that appears, is going to be right here. And by sampling that particular color, should kind of come into play here. Whoa, wait a minute. There you go. Okay, it did come into play right here. And in that color sample, I can determine the fuzziness, let's see, about how much of the sample.
What do you mean by fuzziness?
Fuzziness is
how much range beyond the measured value of the pixels that you originally sampled.
Let's see, that's why I love Jim. He is able to articulate what's in my brain that I'm not sophisticated enough to do.
Yeah, fuzziness is kind of a weird term because basically they're saying, you clicked on a point and how much range beyond the mathematical, color value of that point do you want it to accept as being within range?
Now I can also, with that selection, I can add to it and tell Photoshop, hey, look, I really want you to include that color right here, this color range as well as this one. But I don't want you to include, let's say, this one. And then I'll increase my fuzziness range there and click OK. And it did it. Now, it did an okay job, but there's actually more pixels out here that have been selected than are showing. And let's do a levels, and in that levels, let's just do a so there's your selection. Now you can always get rid of a selection by a mask, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the many different ways of making a selection. I can go on and get into the pen tool and all that other stuff, but these are some of the more common ways of making a selection. And here I am as Michael Jackson. All right.
Hey, Robert, while we're on the subject of making selections, could you cover the select and mask and specifically the refine edge brush?
That's Jim's job.
That's actually something I do very little of.
Okay. Okay.
But actually, did you ask that question? Because that actually is the next question on the list.
No, actually, I did not. But I guess I just volunteered.
But if you want, before we do that, I'll jump back. I can give you a visual on the first question when Robert's done with the with showing the selection tools.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty much done with that.
Okay, stop sharing.
Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Let's see, Command Tab, Zoom, stop sharing. Okay, shirt tails. All right, I stopped sharing.
Go ahead, Jim.
All right. Again, I've got like 3 screens and 6 programs open. I got to tell it the right thing to share.
And we don't want to see something we don't want to see.
There's nothing you don't want to see on my screen.
Okay.
All right. You guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, I grabbed something with texture here just to quickly answer that question about using brushes and having the texture, being able to retain the texture while blending. So I've got the clone stamp selected, which is one of the brush tools, and you see I did a sample, and I have a soft brush, and this is what I was talking about. You notice in the very center, the texture is very clear in the center, but look at how smeary and blurry the texture gets out to the edge because it's a feathered brush. It's a soft brush. And so if I actually click here and stamp that, I've got a whole area there now with, you can see one sharp bit, you can see right there, the texture stayed sharp. And right here, there's a ring of smeared texture. And then outside of this ring is the real texture again. That's the result of using a soft brush. And that's what I think the person was asking in this question about how to retain the texture. So I'm going to undo that. I'll get the clone stamp again. And this time I'm going to change the brush to a hard brush. And now I'll sample. And now you can see the texture stays crisp all the way out to the edge. So depending on what you're working with, you may need to soften the edge, very slightly, keep a hard edge. But this is just to show you that example of now you don't see the texture is, the texture is not smeared at the edge. In this case, there's actually zero blending, going on. So you can actually see, kind of right over here, kind of a sharp edge of that brush that you would have to fix. So sometimes the answer is to have just an almost hard brush. We'll take this and say, let's see what it looks like around, like 85, 86%. And put that in there. Yeah, somewhat better. Still a few artifacts you want to clean up, but it retained a whole lot more texture versus
Soft.
having the brush soft. That's really smeared. And you can even see as I'm moving that around, that's the only real retention of full texture is in the center. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah. Hey, Jim, is
Yeah.
the only way to fix that hard edge by adjusting the feathering? Is there any other way that you could do that? Or is the best way just to do it by adjusting the feathering?
It's right here. Here's your adjustment for that. I'm not aware if there's a shortcut or another way to get to this. Yeah. Now you can, with some tablets, there's ways to set up the stylus, on your tablet that you can use your buttons and switches and things on the stylus to adjust the hardness, as you work. And you can also make it pressure sensitive and have this happen via the pressure sensitivity when you're using a stylus, so that when you use hard pressure, you get a hard brush, and when you use light pressure, you get a light brush. So you do have that kind of control if you're going to use a stylus. But if you're just using your mouse, right here's the where you want to go to and make that adjustment.
Okay, thanks.
Now, Jim,
Yeah.
let me throw one thought in there.
Go
Is
right
that
ahead.
you can, however, put your adjustments on a separate layer. And then after you've put the texture in, you can take a soft edge brush and mask the soft edge out.
That's a very good
But
technique.
the hard edge out.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out. That's a good way of doing with it. So yeah, what Robert is talking about is we go ahead and add another layer. So I've got a blank layer here, but let's see I need to sample. See right here, it says current layer. That won't work. I need to have all layers or current and below in order to sample what's down in the bottom layer. So if I have all layers, now I'm sampling what's down there. Now I can paint. And I painted that on there. Now that was still with the soft brush, and that shows you how it's kind of smearing at the edge. What Robert was getting at was doing, take a hard brush, sample that, and oh great, Zoom is covering up the stuff I need on Photoshop. Here we go. There. All right. So now, and just so you can see it, I'm going to paint that. Here. Hang on. All right. Sample all layers. All right, here we go.
You're on the.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I caught that right as you caught it. All right. So that's nice and hard, painted on that other layer. And then what Robert is saying you can do is then get a mask. And you can use a brush tool. You have the brush tool soft. Clean those edges. Clean those edges up. Retain that texture.
You see,
which is
see what he did there, Jan?
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering, if
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that could be done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You have to be careful because he made that brush so big, he blurred it out some more. You just have to be a little careful. Yeah, more careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the there's the mask.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Now we're doing the masking
there.
Photoshop, especially refine edge.
Oh, refining edge.
Yeah, like with
Okay.
hair. Yeah.
With hair. Let's see if
which,
I can.
Yeah, which like I say, honestly, I do very little of, because just the type of work I do that doesn't apply. So
Houses don't have hair.
and the headshots and everything that I do, when I do headshot work, I almost never have to cut anybody off of a background.
Okay, I'm looking for something right now to see if I can do something here. And let me.
While he's
close.
doing that, Jim, can you look at textures and blending modes? That's the next
Yeah,
question.
if the question relates to what I think it is, yes, I certainly can.
Okay, so if you want to get something ready.
I'm going to get some stuff prepped on my screen to address that.
Is everybody still awake? Yay!
Yep.
About to
My
jump around.
brain is dying.
Photoshop can be a little intimidating, but don't let it get to you.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm just looking for something here, and credentials. Come on, Robert. Come on, pressure's on, dude. The pressure is on. Screenshots. Smoke. Wonder. Let's see. Okay. All right. Come on. Come up with something.
All we need is something with one hair sticking out. That's all.
Okay.
I'm qualified to do that.
One hair sticking out. All right. Okay. Let me go back and share my screen. Share screen and share. We got one hair sticking out.
There we go. Perfect. Looks like more than one hair.
Yeah, well, there you go. So let's go. Anytime you make a selection in Photoshop, let's see, I'll make a selection like so. There's a button here called Select and Mask. Here it is, like so, Command ++. Man, that's a handsome dude. I cannot get over him. That's kind of not what I want. That's not what I want. Let me get out of that one because I want to select the subject. I want Photoshop to select subject. Command deselect. And let's see. I don't have the latest. Yeah, oh, I do. Okay, I have this one. Select subject. And it should go in there and make a selection. There you go. Perfect. Now you see, if I can hit my H key, so you can see what's happening around here. We all see that?
Yep.
Show of hands, no? Yes, okay, great. Now, because I've made a selection around my subject, I need to go, right now I'm in the hand tool. And anytime you're in the hand tool with Photoshop or not in a selection tool, you won't get your select and mask. So if I go to any one of these selection tools, I'll get the select and mask. And there you go. And now this is more or less what we need to deal with here. So what you're asking here is, how can I get a better selection of the hair? Is that what you're asking, Jim Hagan? Or how does it work?
Well, yeah, could you go ahead and change the color of the selection to the red or whatever, so we can actually see what this is?
Change the, okay, you're talking about.
Correct. Yeah, go down to overlay.
Uh-huh.
Now, I noticed that that's backwards. In my opinion, the selection is the red part. And I just don't understand that. I mean, I thought you would be red, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, generally, whatever is selected needs to be clear to the viewer, generally. And the part that's masked out is the other part. So, and in that particular deal, what is it you want to know?
Yeah, you're on that. I still want to be able to select the hair, but you know, I am, maybe I'm just reading it wrong, but aren't you supposed to be red because you're the selection?
No.
No.
Photoshop works just the opposite.
Yeah, that goes all the way back to the graphic arts days before there was even Photoshop, when they had a thing called a Rubylith mask.
Yes.
But it's also what's on Lightroom now. It's the other way around in Lightroom.
Yeah, Lightroom is a bit more intuitive that way, and that's probably why you're saying that you have a problem, because of Lightroom showing you that whatever is masked is actually the red portion. But in Photoshop, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of graphic artists use Photoshop, and Photoshop follows a lot of conventions that go way back in the graphics art world, not just the photography world.
So how do we get the hair? How do you add the hair into the mask or to the selection?
You paint over it.
With what? What are you painting with?
There's a brush right here, number 2.
Okay.
Brush.
You didn't say that.
And yeah,
See that, guys, the refined edge brush.
And you can paint over it the area that you want to refine the edge on. And Photoshop goes in and takes another look. And sort of actually helps you out a little bit better and adds a little bit of the extra in there. So once you do that, comes back and it picks up most of the hair.
Mm.
And this generally works when you cut it out and put it on something else. But I don't have anything else to put it on. And I'm saying but because I would need to know what more would you want to know about that. Now, if I go back to selected mask, I'll know that in this particular output, I can take the output and put it on a new layer, brand new layer, with a mask to it. I can put it in just as a selection, but generally what we do when we're doing this sort of thing is to cut it out. So with my tool here, the second one down, refine edges, I can actually go in with that tool and look at Photoshop and take another look at this hair down here on the outside and take a look down in this area down there. And because there's white bleeding through there, so I told Photoshop to go look in there and take out that white area. Hold down the space bar and move it down right in here. So Photoshop is now reanalyzing that. Now generally when you have a hard edge, you don't want it to bleed in. So I can come down with this brush, the brush tool, and let's see. I'm taking it away now. I'm removing that. If I can get in a little tighter there with this particular brush, and I'm removing that selection like so, because I don't want it to bleed into this edge here. So if you actually go in and include areas that you don't want, you can tell Photoshop, no, don't do it.
Well,
And if you say,
it seems counterintuitive that, I think in the initial selection of the subject, if you just invert it and then go into this particular tool, at least you would be red, and I know what I'm adding and what I'm subtracting. But I guess you have to look at
Jim, then you can't really see it well enough. That's why they do it this way, because then you can see what you're actually working on.
Exactly.
I think that's why they do
stuff that you. Yeah, you're taking away stuff that you want. It's kind of backwards, yeah.
Yeah, it's backwards to you. And oh, wait a minute, I'm gonna hit the option key. It's backwards to you, but to all the other people that use Photoshop other than photographers, it's completely normal.
I'm not abnormal.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
While you're there, you see the little drop down arrow next to the word select subject on the button at the top?
Select subject, yeah.
You see the little arrow next to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to see if you wanted to bring that up about select the subject on your device or on the cloud. If people know understand the difference between that.
You mentioned it at our
the difference being, you guys, that you have that option there on any time you have that select subject button. Device means it's using your computer to figure out and make the selection. But if you pick cloud, then it takes longer because it sends this image out to Adobe servers. Now they don't keep it; they delete it after it's on there. But it goes out to Adobe servers, and then they use their artificial intelligence from that Adobe Sensei program that they have with the billions of images in it, and they use their computers to select the subject and then put it back in your computer with their selection, which they say takes longer but does a better job.
Yeah, much more accurate. I've seen it done, and it's way more accurate especially as far as selecting hair.
Yeah, they specifically recommend using the cloud for hair selections because they say it takes a few seconds longer, but Adobe's computers are more powerful than your computer.
You can set it preferences
and have more data, in them to work with as reference in their Sensei artificial intelligence program.
Sylvia, you were saying?
I was going to say, I had just seen a tutorial about that, and you can also go into your preferences and set it so that it always uses the cloud when you use select subject.
Yes, in the preferences, you can set it to default to one or the other, but at any given time, you can hit that arrow for any given any given image and make your choice on any given image.
So at this point, I would then make the selection and I would new layer with a layer mask, click on that, click OK, and now I have the selection. And there you go. Now this blending this that you see up top, this will help with blending into another backdrop. Now, yes, I've gone a little bit overboard, but at the same time, I still have a layer mask in place. And in that layer mask, I can come in, B for brush, and make that a bit more solid. And just clean that mask up like so. In these areas down here where I know that I don't want it to bleed out. That makes sense, Jim?
Oh yeah.
No, the other Jim. Jim Hagan.
I think now that I know I'm thinking backwards, I think I have it.
Yeah, you know, the thing about it is that people try to do the equate Photoshop and Lightroom as being the same, but they're not. They're two different worlds.
Mm.
They do a lot of the same things, but they just do them differently.
That's cool. I think.
Any other questions on this one? All right, Robert, you can unshare and we'll get Jim to do textures and blending modes.
Okay, my only question is, oh, there it is. I see it. I was trying to figure out where the share thing was. Okay, great.
Robert, can you look at the one at the bottom? Is that something you can handle next?
One at the bottom, let's see.
Or the bottom of the sheet?
On the perspective deal?
Yeah.
I don't do perspective.
Okay, that's gonna have to be Jim then.
Yeah, I wonder who sent that.
What's the question then?
That's a question from Helga.
What's the question?
It's no, it's down at the bottom. It's the last one on the sheet. So just go ahead and do this one now.
Best ways to determine perspective when doing composites, adjust lighting, black point. Yeah, I don't even necessarily know that I understand that question, but yeah, I'll go back to okay, textures. A lot of people like to take textures to do artistic blending between things, and it's actually pretty simple. I got a couple random images here. Then I have here, and you can go online. You even see this one where it says July freebie, because whoever put this out in the month of July put out like a dozen free textures or whatever, and you can find free textures all over the place, or you can get subscriptions to them or buy little packs of textures. But you get images like this. Yeah, you can make your own. Yep, go out and take pictures of of the sidewalk and the street and walls and just anything. That's where a lot of these come from. So this is just a texture I picked that I had in a folder full of textures, and I got an image right here that I'll go ahead and blend it with. So just to start with, I'm going to take this and I'm going to select the whole thing.
By doing Command or Control A.
Yeah, Control A and then Control C. I'm going to copy it. That's it. I just copied it. I selected it, copied it. Then I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go Command or Control V, and I'm going to paste it. So you see over here now I've got a texture laid over top of that background image. Right here is where the blending modes are, and the different blending modes will react differently depending on the density of the colors in your texture, the tonal ranges within the texture, and the colors and tonal ranges that are in your base image. And so the different blending layers will mathematically mix your pixels differently and give you different effects. And you can vary the opacity of the layer too when you do it. But when you start, you can actually, as you start hovering over these, you can see all these different things that are happening as it's blending this texture with this base image in different modes, where you get all kinds of interesting creative effects happening just depending on how you blend these two images together. A lot of times multiply, overlay, soft light, sometimes hard light and vivid light. These multiply, overlay, and soft light commonly work, the most with combinations of textures and images. But depending on what you're doing, it pays to go through and check these out. You can find something you like, and you can vary the opacity of that texture from 0, and then gradually bring in that texture for artistic effect, to the point, where you feel you like the combination of what you did there. But yeah, the whole trick to using textures is the blending layers, right there. You can take that same one and let's here, yeah, we'll stick it on another image. Same thing. You can go through different effects. Yeah, again, overlay kind of looks good with this one. Multiply's a little strong, but you can back off the opacity, of that, and bring it into a point where you think you like something, and then that's just a start. Go in and do various different adjustments and tweaks, from there, once you have a texture on it.
And guys, this is a cool way to make a kind of a plain old, it's a cool picture because of the flowers, but other than that, it was kind of bleh. Adding the texture makes a whole lot of difference to the image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of entirely new looking now.
Just for kicks, Jim, can you select out the sky and leave it without the texture so that everything else looks textured? This is just as an exercise in how to do that and incorporating what Robert was just teaching us.
Yeah. Select sky. Let's see if it's yep, okay. It found the sky here. So now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to make a there. Now your sky is clean.
Very good. Thanks for that little exercise.
See, now you got a clean sky and everything else is grungy looking. That's how simple it was. Just select your sky and convert your sky into a mask.
Great. Thank you.
There. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, so like here's some random textures to work with here. That's the one I picked, but there's you can get all sorts of various. This is just the ones that are in this particular folder. You could take something entirely different like this one and see how that works on something. We'll get rid of that. Paste a new texture on there. See how that one looks. I like soft light on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the texture definitely makes a big difference in which blend mode to use.
Yeah, different textures. That's why you just want to hover and just roll through those and see the effects that you want. And let me say now I'm just gradually bringing up the opacity to bring that texture in, and I like that texture a lot better on this particular image. And again, you can do things, put a mask on, say, well, let's not have any texture on those flowers right there, and keep that intact.
I like that one when it was real dark. It looked spooky.
So you can see what I did there. Yeah. So Yeah, there you go. That's that's a quick synopsis on blending modes with textures. Does that make sense to everybody?
Let me jump in here for just 1 second and say that to a lot of you, you'll say, I'll never use that, or this is too over my head, or this is way too advanced. As you progress in photography, you're going to want to do different things with your imagery because you're going to get stale. You get bored with your own stuff, and it's going to look like everything and everybody else. And some of the things that we're introducing in Photoshop here are ways to up the ante, and just by being around it and being introduced to it will actually improve how you see in the future. So hang with us.
Yeah.
And you know what I just realized?
What? What?
Lynn, you were with me when I took both of these pictures.
This was in New Mexico.
They're both in New Mexico, and you were with me when I took both of them.
Yep. Yeah, I recognized it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everybody kind of goes through a texture time. Yeah, as with everything else, everybody goes through a texture time, and you use textures for a while, then you get kind of sick of them. Let me say this: a lot of flower photography has textures on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll notice a lot of the really big time photographers that do flower photography. Almost all of them use some sort of texture. So.
The thing about it, we are like so amazed at how do they do that?
Yeah.
Well, this is how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just plop it on there and just play with it.
Yeah, because this one right here, this doesn't even look like a photograph anymore. It was kind of abstract to start with, and then you throw texture on it, and this doesn't even look like a photograph. You put a frame on this and stick it on a wall.
But using a texture doesn't make it an altered reality, does it?
Well, yeah,
yes,
does.
It does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
But that shouldn't stop you from creating.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, just mark your image with AR,
Yep.
Yeah, that's okay. I just was wondering if that's what it would be then if you used a texture.
Oh yeah, we've gotten plenty of images submitted with textures on them.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions on this, guys? Okay. Helga, I think this other question was yours from the panel discussion. If you could open your mic. Best ways to determine perspectives when doing composites, adjust lighting, black point.
I think Helga should answer that question.
Yeah, she says she knows. She just wants to know if there's a better way to do. I think maybe she knows the best way.
Give me some input.
She's here, but she's not speaking.
It's because she's walking the dog.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
No, you're not. You're walking the dog.
No, I'm here.
No, I don't see you. I mean, I don't need to see you, but I don't hear you.
You should.
I know. I'm responding to you.
Okay. Oh, the vanishing point on the horizon, when it's not clearly visible, how do you align the composite segments so they all look natural?
Yeah, I what's that guy named? The
Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez, that's the guy. Thank you very much, Jack.
You're welcome. I watched this tutorial. Yeah, it's very good.
He does all of that on perspective and determining perspective. And I'm going to tell you, I am going to dismiss myself from that particular deal because, as Jen mentioned earlier, I don't do very many perspective. I do people, and the people are my perspective. Okay, that joke didn't fly well. What is your solution that you put forth?
Well, I put a brush on it, like one of those perspective brushes, and then I just align that with the horizon, but sometimes you can't see the horizon. So that's difficult to get the vanishing point aligned correctly. And I see so many questions in these faces.
Mm-hmm.
I guess watch Jose Ramirez's tutorial, Helga.
I did, and it's not working that well. I'm subscribed to his YouTube channel, and I have a couple of his YouTubes and classes, but there's still questions. I just thought Jim and Robert has better ideas.
I don't do that type of compositing, at all.
Okay. All right.
So
Well-
I would suggest contacting Jose Ramirez and asking him.
Well,
He's on
I find-
Twitter.
I find that he talks, I find that he talks so fast. You gotta stop, rewind, and listen to it again. And then he does nothing in less than 100 steps.
yeah.
Yes.
It's at least 100 steps.
Oh, that's composite.
Very complicated, but he's very good, but it's very complicated.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all the leftover questions that we have. What else you guys want to talk about?
Well,
Robert?
I put it in the chat about the channel pulling for
that's right.
selections.
Yeah. How do you select with channel pulling?
Give me a minute while I Google what channel pulling is.
Well, let me just share the screen for just a second here. Okay. And the reason what I think you're talking about is whenever you have, I'm gonna get rid of this deal here.
Well, you figure out which channel has the most
contrast in it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
so-
I never heard the phrase channel pulling associated with that method before. The
me,
phrase channel pulling threw me. I have not heard the phrase before. I know what you're talking about now. I just didn't associate that term
Because
with that
usually
technique.
when I try that, I get you create a new alpha channel, but then
And
it says
create a
do
new
the-
alpha channel. I'm dragging it down to the plus, and then I get a new alpha channel.
and then with levels trying to increase the contrast, and then with a dodge and burn tool try to burn out the little leftovers to get a clean selection.
Right.
And
so you're
that never works for me.
and yes, and if you go over to select, not select.
That's one of those things that's very image dependent on whether that's a good technique or not.
Right.
That's a real old school technique.
Image adjust, and then levels, and then what you're mentioning is to make the blacks blacker and the whites whiter, and by doing so you create much more of a mask. And see, and by doing that, I'm making a selection now of the person by making the blacks blacker and the whites whiter. And I've selected that was the blue channel. And by doing so, I load that in as a selection. And now you see the marching ants.
Just a different way of selecting then.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the time, not all the time, image dependent again, but a lot of the time you'll find that the blue channel is the channel that you wind up working from.
Yeah, that is a kind of old school.
Probably before all this fancy selection tools were even around.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did this back in the
Yeah,
in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember it being called channel masking and stuff. I never heard the phrase channel pulling associated with it. That's what threw me. I remember it as channel masking.
Well, you know how Helga is. Helga says she's going to put beauty on the terms. So that's a beautiful term. All right. Let me stop sharing. But you guys saw what it was. And so, and you know what's good about that is that as you said it, Helga, I was able to do it. All right, so what else do we have from you guys?
Come on, questions. Here's your chance.
We got Photoshop and Lightroom up.
I have one. I've gotten pretty familiar with the masking tools in Lightroom, but I still, and you guys explained this on this original tutorial, using the intersect with tool, and I still find that confusing when to use it and how to use it in Lightroom. with masking.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I
Robert did a real good job of explaining
Yeah,
that the
you
first
guys
time around.
explained it before
Mhm.
but I just, it won't stick for some reason. I get in the real world and I can't figure out when to use it.
Well, let me see if I can open up something here. Give me a second to pull something in. Lightroom is opening up right now. Okay. All right, let's see if I can pull, let's see, share screen. First of all, let me find something to share with. Okay, I'll use something simple. All right, share screen. And share. And I'm assuming that you all see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My screen is running a little hot here. I'm gonna quit. Don't save. Don't save. Okay, great. Now you make a selection, first of all, and I'm gonna go to develop module. And hopefully this image is good enough for the, all right. So you're gonna make a selection. And in this case, I'm running the older version on this particular machine, but I think it works all the same. Excuse me while I cough. I'm gonna do it. Well, I'm not gonna cough. Yeah, just coughed. All right, if I'm gonna select the sky, all right, it's gonna go up and select the sky. All right. And there it is. That's a simple selection. You agree?
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to throw that away. Delete. And I am going to now select the sky using a color range. Now I know I'm going into a long drawn out way of doing this, but I'm going to select the sky by going like so. And that also selected the sky as well, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Just a lot of the fence and a lot of the more, I think it didn't do as good a job, but.
Okay, now
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of that one and delete that. Now, this time I'm going to select the subject and I'll see what it does as far as detect. Great. So you see what it did, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's get rid of that one. And I'm going to go delete the layer mask 1. Now, this time, let's go back to select color range. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And you said it didn't do such a good job because it selected this right here, right?
Well, and the white fence down.
And the white fence.
Left side, yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can do something here. Intersect mask with select subject. Now I have the subject by itself.
Right.
All right, now I'm going to do the reverse on that. I just told it to intersect with the subject. So the last thing that I told it to do was select what?
The subject.
And intersect with means the last thing that I tell it to do is to isolate that particular thing.
Okay.
All right. One more portion to this, and I'm gonna get rid of this. Delete it. And I'm gonna do just the opposite. This one, select subject. but I don't want the subject out. I can invert this. And what's it going to select?
Everything.
Everything. All right. Or I can intersect this with
The sky.
intersect with select sky. Now, what's the last command I'm giving it? Sylvia?
Sky.
The sky, select sky is the last command, right?
And what do you think is going to happen to my subject?
Selecting less of the subject.
Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to select the sky, but all right, let me do something else. Now I want to intersect with, now let me select the whole thing. Let me be a bit more precise about this, because this is not working as far as what I want to get you to see. I want to delete mask 1, and I'm going to do a gradient, a linear gradient.
Okay.
And I'm going to come down all the way down here. And there it is. And I'm going to say intersect with, and I only want to select the white. Is that right? I mean, do you hear what I'm saying? That I only want to select the white. So I'm going to come in here and intersect with the luminous range.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn this mask off, by the way. And select the white. Now, when I do that, it gave me this range right here. So show the mask. Show the mask. Okay, so it's selecting that particular range, brightness range.
Right.
And now I'm gonna, because I told it I only want the whites, I am going to take this and move it up, and that, and move it up toward the lighter areas, the lighter tones. And
Hey, Robert, why, if since the building is the only thing that's white, why wouldn't you just use the color white?
I could have used the color white, but that would have been the smarter thing to do.
It's so much more fun scratching your left ear with your right hand.
Okay.
Yeah, the question was about doing intersections.
Okay,
so.
okay.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so I'm moving that up so that it's now selected more of the white than the other value.
All right.
Now, color range would have been better, but
Right.
that's intersecting, which means I'm isolating it to, regardless of what I've selected, to the value that I want.
Okay.
So I know, Sylvia, I've just made more confusion. I can see it in your head.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
Now,
Is this similar to blend if in Photoshop?
it's very much like blend if. But what it is it's saying intersect means that I am now, regardless of what I've done to make a selection, I am now saying that the two areas where they come together, the one area that I have selected, the last thing I've selected, will then now be the major selection.
So basically you're using two different masks, and the area that's common to both the masks becomes the final mask. So you're using two different masks, and where they intersect, the area that is common to both of those masks is the area that you're going to affect.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In worlds outside of photography, that's called a Venn diagram.
Right. I was going to say,
Yes.
Venn diagram. Yeah. Venn
Exactly.
If you understand what a Venn diagram is, you understand what intersecting masks are.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I don't understand.
It's math.
Oh my God. Okay.
Hey, Robert, do you have a picture with a sky that with clouds in it, with white clouds?
I do have a picture. Let's see.
It's gotta have some nice fluffy white clouds. This doesn't look like a fluffy white cloud kind of day.
Yeah, and I know what you're alluding to. But let me hit the letter G and see what I have in this deal. Shot a lot of pictures of that kite surfers. I don't.
Is it over in Galveston Bay?
Yeah, this is in near Galveston Bay. That's exactly right. This is your area.
Look at Victoria's recognizing Texas already. Whoa.
Yeah.
She's become a real Texan.
Yes. Let's see. Corpus Christi, Texas. Let's see what's in there. Those are windmills.
If I can say something while you're looking, Victoria, please don't.
What?
Become a Texan?
Become a real Texan.
Oh, no. That'd be hard.
Oh, that's a pretty waterfall.
Yeah, it's a kind of a nice one.
We need a cloudy sky.
I don't
make one.
I did the Texas City dikes.
They don't have any clouds in Texas.
There, I'm
they get
not
lots of
finding
clouds.
any. I'm not finding any in this grouping. In this grouping at all.
What if you replace the sky with Photoshop with puffy clouds?
That'll work right there.
All right.
So select the sky.
This is a huge file, by the way. Select the sky.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's a huge file.
I don't know if it'll work on this one, but we'll see.
All right. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't work because, well, what I'm trying to show them is how when you select the sky, you also get all the clouds, and it makes the clouds look, if you lower the exposure on the sky to make the sky less bright, you're also making the clouds look dingy. And then you take then you make another mask inside the sky, and you subtract the white clouds with a color or gradient thing.
Okay, so what happens if I take this particular deal and I run a gradient in it, and linear gradient, and I run it down to, let's say, here, so that the whole sky is selected.
Okay.
All right. Now, what are you asking?
Okay, so now increase your exposure to make your sky darker.
Increase the exposure to make the sky darker.
Okay, so now it also makes your clouds darker.
Right.
So now you go to your mask, your same mask, and you do subtract.
You want me to subtract something?
Yeah, do subtract. And then you do a luminance range. And you put it on the clouds. And you, and then you lower the exposure on those so they're not so dark.
You mean when you say lower?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm sorry, increase your exposure back up so they're not dark, because you darkened everything.
Now, when I do that, look at what happens.
Yeah, no, because I guess it's because it didn't select just the blue.
Right. So now I'll tell you this. Okay.
Or you could try doing, hey, instead of doing, get rid of that and use the color range instead.
It's still gonna do the same thing because now here's where Intersect comes in. Here is where it comes in. Let me delete that mask. Okay. Now, I want to, let's say I want to darken the sky. trying to think this through, actually. We do that again, and let me bring the exposure down like so, and then we intersect with luminous range. And let me pull that. I see what's happening. I'm going to pull that up like so.
Mhm.
Run another gradient. Bring the exposure down. Subtract at this point. Luminous range.
No, you clicked radial gradient. You clicked linear gradient.
I did. Okay. Command Z. Okay. Linear gradient. Subtract luminous range. And it will be this one. Linear gradient. And so that should work. And the exposure is going to be.
Yeah, that sort of does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically trying to keep it from, lowering the exposure on the clouds as well, because you don't want the clouds to be gray.
Right.
It's kind of hard to
So,
tell on this because the sky is, everything is gray, but
yeah, I get what you're doing, but
Yeah.
I know that this is, I put let's see, 16 out of the 18 people we have here to sleep. Believe you me, I know
Okay.
it, folks.
Let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
Does anybody
I
else
was-
have any questions?
I was that way when I showed up.
Well, Jim, do you have any questions? Jim McWilliam?
Not at this
Photoshop
time.
or Lightroom?
Not at this time, thank you.
Jim Sykes, do you have any Lightroom tips you want to give or anything like that? It's a 8:45, so we got about 15 minutes. We can shut this thing down.
I'll play here. Let's see.
Let me stop sharing on my end then while I look up something here.
Let me see. Hang on for a second. Let me find something.
Can I ask a question about one of our uh, things for the waterfalls?
Thing for waterfalls.
Yeah, when I do the long exposure for the waterfall to get the creamy water, but it's a windy day and the leaves are, then moving also and being not in focus. Is that a ding on the waterfall thing, competition night?
Yeah, November is the assignment is waterfalls. That's
Yeah,
what you're
but
talking
I'm
about,
just
yeah.
asking
Yeah, it
if
does.
that is a ding then.
Well, you could, technically you could shoot, the long exposure and then shoot a really short exposure that, keeps the leaves from moving as much and then, combine the two.
Yeah, I know that, but if it's so windy, you can't really get them to stop moving.
Now, short of a hurricane, a faster shutter speed will be able to stop them.
Yeah, but then you have too much ISO because then I have to crank that up because it was a really dark location.
I hear what you're saying, but when
Yeah.
you mask in a high ISO, you don't always have to keep the noise into that high ISO.
But then if you take down the noise, it also gets a little bit more fuzzy. Then I have the out of focus look again. So it's kind of difficult.
I'm gonna have to talk to a weather guy.
I tried it. I have the two exposures, the short and the long.
Yeah.
But the leaves are just looking, like they were moving.
As long as the ground doesn't look like it's moving.
Okay.
If you intersect the leaves with the sky,
All this intersecting going on.
I'm sorry I started that.
No, I'm glad you started that.
Yeah.
I'm very glad you started
Okay,
that.
Jim's got his thing going here. Oh, look at that. I think I recognize those knees on Jack.
Yeah, there's Jack. Jack's behind the truck over here.
Yeah.
Yep.
when I first saw this, I thought of the old TV series F Troop.
F Troop.
Yeah.
No, I just thought of something about Lightroom. You can move your sliders down here. Yeah. How many people know you can do it right up here on the histogram too? You can just grab ranges on your histogram and move them around. A lot of people don't know you can. A lot of people don't know you can do that.
Yeah. That's cool. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't know you can do.
So you can just grab it anywhere?
Well, see the ranges. See how as I hover, a different
Yeah,
range.
the double arrow tells you what you're sliding or what you're grabbing.
Yeah. And also, if you notice down below in the tone panel, notice how different sliders, the value part of each slide of different sliders lights up. It tells you what you're going to adjust.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
So this shows the blacks. There's the shadows. You see it down there. It says shadows. It's highlighted on the 83.
Yeah.
And then when I go here, that's exposure. This great big fat middle one moves your exposure slider. You see that? But if you go down here, you're going to move your black slider. If you go here, you're going to move your shadow slider. If you go here, you're moving your highlight slider. And if you go here, you're moving your whites. And so this also then, kind of intuitively, shows you where, if you adjust the white slider, it's concentrated in this range up here. If you adjust the highlight slider, it's concentrated in this range here, exposure, shadows, blacks. So as you're working with these sliders, that's where it's doing the most of what it does. You see, even when I grab this slider, it highlights this range up here. When I grab this, as I grab each slider, it highlights a range up there on the histogram. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just a little trick.
I like it.
That's cool.
That's neat.
The little trick tip for today. Anything else you guys can think of? We got 10 minutes.
Where can you see the zone system on Lightroom?
The Lightroom doesn't really work in zone system. That zone system has to do with, it's a combination of what you do when you're taking the photo and what you're going to do with it in post-production. You have to understand the zone system before you press your shutter button on your camera and know what you're doing there.
But I thought there was a place in Lightroom that you could see where the different where everything fell along the zone system.
The 10 zones in Lightroom?
Yeah.
Robert, are you familiar with that?
Not necessarily the zone system, but you can see the numerical values of where things are, and that's going to be using your luminance range.
Okay.
All right, so then tell me what brought that on.
I was seeing it in something I was working on where you could actually see the different values of the black and white image.
The black and white image.
Yes.
How about Silver Effects? Nick Silver Effects?
It may be there. Okay. All right.
Let me take a look at one thing here. And give me a second to run through it before I share my screen. And that's going to be the letter C. What's the letter? That's not it. Shift I. Shift O. Okay.
There's
Command,
Jack.
There's Jack.
There it is. Okay, got it. All right.
Look at those supporting hands. My goodness. Steady as a tripod.
Wow.
Look at those flames shooting out of your telephoto lens.
Right.
That looks like the Everglades.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can share a screen on my end for a second. Okay. And share.
Reference mode. I don't know what that
Okay,
is.
are we here
Yeah,
on
we're
the screen?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
see it, the waterfall.
The waterfall. Okay. What I did want you to know about is something that Jim pointed out about, and Karen, I'll get to your thought in just a second. But I also want you to know about, let's see if I can go to this as shot. Okay, is to get these different screens as far as the different compositional screens.
The overlays.
The overlays, yes.
What are you doing?
All right, now I just want to know if you guys know about this before
You hit O, don't you?
It's a shift or a command O or control O.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I point that out because there are many different ways of doing stuff other than the rule, the suggestion of thirds as far as the composition is concerned. So I did want to point that out. So I will leave that be. I'll escape out of that, and then I'll go to Karen's thoughts. If I do luminous range right here, and I pick a value, and I know that this is not exactly what you're asking, but if I pick a value with this eyedropper tool, that value now shows. If I take that slider and move it down in, let's see, if I move the whole slider down in the other sections, I'm picking now the different tonal values. And those tonal values are noted by these numbers right here. These numbers go from 0 to 100. So if I want to know what tonal value is something related to, I'll click on that value right there, and it will give me this value. So in other words, I pick that, it gives me the value of, what is that? 80. No, that's 100. Let me find something else. There. All right, it's the value of 70. If I click in here, that's a value of 100. Right there is the value of 31. So if you're talking about the zone system or the tone system, Karen, you're looking at the different values on a scale of 1 to 100.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Now, what were you referring to exactly?
Hey,
No, you've covered it there.
I did a search online, and I found that you can buy a set of profiles for $15 to put in Lightroom. And there are profiles for zone 0 through 10. And when you click a profile for zone 0 through 10, then it it highlights within your image anything that falls within that zone.
Okay.
But it's an add-on that you can buy that gives you a set of profiles, and basically all that happens is you have to select each of the 10 profiles individually, and then it will just show you within your image what values fall within that zone.
Okay,
Or
great.
you can talk to Dom,
Yeah.
our black and white guy, who's not here tonight.
I want you to, if I may add something, I want you to look right here in this area right here where these numbers appear. As I hover over, it'll tell me those values, those same values or tonal values that exist. The number is 8.9, 8.4. If I go up here, it'll tell me 74. Again, you're talking about a scale of 1 to 100. Now, let me come back to what Jim was mentioning. I'm going to get out of this for just 1 second. I'll close this off. You remember our scale that he mentioned about moving? How you're able to move the scale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that scale is a certain value set as well. Like this top scale over here is 100. This black scale down here goes to 0. The scale in the middle goes from about, let's see, how much is it? 50 something to 80 something. So you're able to determine that the tones, and I know I'm getting so much in the weeds right now, but you're able to determine certain values that you want to change, again, by that luminous deal here. Again, I want to affect, and if you divide that into 10 zones, 0 to 100, and each zone being 10. If I do my luminous range and I hover over the value, and right now I'm at a 71, that would be in like the fourth or fifth zone. I click on that, and now I'm affecting anything in that value, and only those values.
Okay.
Sometimes Robert and Jim, you guys get so far in the weeds, it's not funny.
No, thank you.
It's like Karen has said, she said 3 times thank you, which means let's move on.
Does anybody else have a question? We're at 9 o'clock.
Can anybody make a recommendation for Photoshop tutorials, like on YouTube?
Depends on what you're wanting to learn.
Well, I'm sort of starting from scratch. I know a little bit, but I would like to get more into layers and things like that.
Well, Robert teaches that, Jan.
That's good to know.
And you will definitely know a little bit.
I have a question. I'm curious, what is the sequence of operations when you open, like, let's say you process an image, you open an image, what do you tend to do first? In what order do you do your operations? Things like light and darken, sharpening, etc.
That Barry? Yeah, that's Barry.
Yes.
Hey, Barry.
Barry.
I have the answer. Somebody actually asked me that in the camera club just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was me, Jim.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So I sent it to you in an email. If you
Yep.
guys want, right now in the chat, I'll copy and paste I can copy and paste it into the chat.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Well, give Jim a second to put it in the chat.
Yeah, let me get to my let me get over here to my email.
And we do thank you both, Jim and Robert. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Grandpa.
Excellent program. Excellent.
Thanks. It was a little all over the place, but we have to do this probably once a year to answer everybody's, different, kind of oddball questions that don't fit into anything specific. So
Excellent.
It was really helpful, especially the selection tools. That was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
it's a good starting spot.
Man, I hadn't seen Joe in a long time.
There's Joe. I saw
So
him at
glad to
lunch
see him.
today.
This is our last meeting before photo camp, right?
Yep. No meeting next Thursday night. It's the first Thursday of the month. This February always throws me off big time.
Susan, I hadn't seen her since the last time. She brought a husband to make sure that I stay in line.
Well, not only that, but he joined, Robert, so.
Yep, he did.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wave.
Robert, are you gonna be at photo camp?
As long as you are there, Brian, you darn right I will be there. I love giving you a whole bunch of crap and I love you giving it back.
I noticed that you love giving me crap. I have noticed that.
So, yeah, anybody that wants to take that last chat message I just put, select all, Control or Command A.
It didn't come through to everybody. Who did
Copy
you
it.
send it to?
Let me hit
Yeah, I
send.
don't see it. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, just copy it and paste
Just
it
copy
onto
that
a.
and paste that into into a document in your computer. That's a rundown of my personal workflow of what I do in what order.
Thank you.
Now, I'll tell you, I use the she wants bacon method. And if you want to know what that is, take a class.
What?
She wants
Yep.
bacon method.
Yep, she wants bacon method.
Okay, guys.
Don't close yet. I'm trying to copy
But
his
that's,
message.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Yeah, that's not just my